Yes, yes, Sir Hairless here. Marc Cohn, Walking in Memphis, released in 1991. Once a month, I do a themed poll that everyone can vote on completely free. This was the most recent winner of these monthly polls, so here we are. Apparently, this song is autobiographical, which is always interesting, telling the story of how Marc went to Memphis to overcome a bout he was experiencing of writer's block. Went there, saw some things, returned home, wrote a song about it. And apparently this song, which became a huge hit, remains his most famous song. So I think that's a pretty successful holiday he went on. That's all I know so far. So without further ado, let's get straight into it.
Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain. W.C. Handy, won't you look down over me? Yeah, I got a first class ticket, but I'm as blue as a boy can be. Then I'm walking in Memphis, just walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? Saw the ghost of Elvis.
There was a sign there, Elvis Presley and Son Records. Ooh, I really like his voice. I really like his voice. He's got this almost subtle husk to it. There are a couple of things that I simply have to point out before we continue. The rhythms in this song are really, really interesting. Quite difficult to actually fully understand. Super, super interesting, which I'll touch on in just a second. So I want to go back to the opening piano motif. It really, really, really reminds me of another song. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what song it is. If you know the answer to this, please comment down below what it is, because, you know, trying to think of a song that and you can't remember, it will bug me for days. It's just so annoying. So please, if you know what I'm talking about here, comment it down below. I'll be forever grateful. That's the first thing. So I mentioned the rhythms being really, really interesting, and you might be thinking they're not that interesting. It's just these arpeggiated piano figures. Well, let's play the opening again and just see what's strange about the first three notes before we then get into a routine of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can immediately feel the syncopation. 1, 2, 3, boom. And then we get into the 1, 2, 3, 4 arpeggio patterns. Why we start off with 3 is basically to offset the bass line. And by bass line, I just mean that part I just played, that we are hearing in the left hand of the piano. I'll explain what I mean by offsetting in just a second, but by offsetting the bass line, Marc has essentially created a never quite resolving piano accompaniment in terms of the rhythms. So here's the music, 4 beats in a bar, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'd think it would make sense for the 4 beats to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So every cycle of 4 beats, the 1 comes in on that bass note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But as we can see, each bass note comes in just before the 1. So it's like bass 1, boom, 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 boom. And that is thanks to the first 3 notes here, because unlike everything else, in 4-note patterns, there are only 3 notes instead of 4. I'll play some of the song, count on top, and you'll see it maybe doesn't sound quite right, but it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully I explained that okay. Even if I didn't, hopefully you can hear that something just seems a little bit strange with the rhythms, and it's all by design. I think it's really, really clever. There are 2 piano pieces that come to mind from a couple of centuries ago. One is Francois Couperin's The Mysterious Barricades. Does a similar thing, and another one is Schumann's Fast zu Ernst. I'll put in some clips so maybe you can see the rhythmic similarities. When Marc started singing, I immediately was thinking, oh, this sounds so much more free than regular singing. The rhythms are almost just like he's talking, much less structured than the rhythms might typically be in singing normally.
Was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam.
You never really know when he's going to enter because everything is offset and doesn't quite align. So yeah, to me, the rhythms are the most interesting thing about the song so far by a long way. We have only listened to about 1 minute so far. The harmony has just been 4 chords repeated, no changes. And the chords that we're hearing have been outlined by the left hand in the piano. F, G, C, A minor. That chord progression is smooth. If we revoice them so the notes are close together, we can see you don't really need to move much. Or even this, the same chords, just revoiced. Anyway, I think I've been speaking enough about the technicals. Let's carry on with the song and then we can touch on some other things. But yeah, I really like his voice so far.
Saw the ghost of Elvis on Union Avenue. Followed him up to the gates of Graceland, and I watched him walk right through. Now security, they did not see him. They just hovered around his tomb. But there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the jungle room. When I was walking in Memphis, I was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? They've got catfish on the table. They've got gospel in the air. And Reverend Green, be glad to see you when you haven't got a prayer. But boy, you got a prayer in Memphis. Now Muriel plays piano.
That's a really nice way to return to the opening motif, isn't it? We've just had such an increase in everything, in texture and volume and instrumentation, stylistic differences, gospel influences clearly, and then just to revert after this huge kind of pause.
When you haven't got a
Chromatic rise up, we're hearing a rock organ in the background that you might typically expect from gospel music, so very, very fitting.
prayer.
Little riffs as well.
Boy, you got a
But boy, very consonant entry as well.
Memphis.
Yeah, really interesting. I'm finding myself just not knowing what to expect with this song. I honestly think that some of what we just heard, no one could have predicted on their first ever listen. It just was not expected at all. So from where we carried on, we got the beat coming in.
On Union Avenue, followed him up to the gates of Graceland.
I wouldn't have known what those lyrics meant to the gates of Graceland, but from a quick Wikipedia, I know that that was Elvis Presley's house. I like how literal the lyrics are as well. You know, there's nothing too poetic about them. He's talking about walking in Memphis. Not all songs have to be poetic masterpieces, and that's where the music comes in to really help. But yeah, we have the beat, then the bass comes in. Let's move forward a bit.
Waiting for the king down in the jungle room when I was walking in Memphis.
Another little break from everything there we just heard, which again isn't really expected. The video's cool as well, all black and white, I guess maybe quite stylistic of the time. At least to represent nostalgia, I can think of a few late 80s, early 90s music videos that do that.
With my feet 10 feet off a beam, walking in Memphis.
Now with the percussion in there, with the bass as well, the rhythms are not just that piano arpeggio figure that we got at the beginning, and they are slightly changed now. They are not as peculiar or strange. I think we can all agree that we can feel that in the music now. It feels a bit more, I don't know, I think it feels a bit more homely, weirdly. Maybe you completely disagree with me on that and think the opposite, but the part that comes afterwards, a lot of talk of gospel, the music becomes quite gospel-y in ways.
Table.
We're starting to get slightly more dissonant chords, subtle dissonances in there, taking your standard chords that we've been hearing so far and adding in some extra notes to turn them a little bit funky. So when he's saying they've got gospel in the air, we just have one chord, a C chord, and this is your standard C chord. But they've added in the 7th note to turn it into a C7, and they've also got a suspension where one note is suspended and then resolves down. Combine them together. Even though fundamentally, it's just that. But now it sounds a little bit more exciting, like there's some sort of movement. And then they move up to E, but with the 7th note in there, and then F, with the 7th note in there.
Reverend Green, be glad to see you when you haven't got a prayer.
And then this chromatic sounding bit, so we went, and now a diminished chord, we can just hear it sounds a bit more scrunchy. There's the chromatic rise. Other notes stay the same. So we have a bit of movement, but also the rest is not moving. And then he finally resolves, saying prayer in a nice light falsetto.
Got a prayer.
Well, I'm now wondering what other surprises there might be in store for us, so let's carry on. If you enjoy these videos, please consider supporting me. You can buy me a coffee or hot chocolate, join our Patreon for loads of additional content that's not available on YouTube, or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. All options are linked below, and a special thanks to everyone on the screen. Back to the video.
Muriel plays piano every Friday at the Hollywood, and they brought me down to see her, and they asked me if I would do a little number, and I sang with all my might. She said, tell me, are you a Christian child? And I said, ma'am, I am tonight. Walking in Memphis, was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel? Walking in Memphis, I was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beam. Walking in Memphis, but do I really feel the way I feel?
Returning back to that opening motif, I just don't know if we're going to stay or... How long do we have left? Just under 1 minute left. Yeah, a lot of surprises in this song. I, again, was not expecting it to go kind of full gospel mode. Really nice hearing the gospel choir coming in the background. I was mouthing along. Marc has just moved to a higher register, or part of his chest voice anyway. Yeah, I like his voice. I do. It's got a really subtle hoarseness to it. I think I used the word husky earlier, or I said he has a bit of a husk to it. And it just compliments his way of singing.
She said, tell me, are you a Christian child? And I said, ma'am, I am tonight. Walking in Memphis, was walking with my feet.
And we can really hear in the bass line now, there are alternations in the frequency of the bass notes. So when we hear, they're not exact. Some of them will be shorter or longer, and that is basically to mitigate the rhythmic offsetting I was talking about earlier, to make everything feel a bit more structured. The rhythms, to me, are just still the most interesting thing, just as I'm finally coming to terms with the fact that we no longer have the peculiarity. It's much more of a whole song, very gospel-y, gospel choir, all of that, you know, rock organ, like I said before. Then we revert back to the beginning. So yeah, I'm just wondering how are they going to end it? They could end it in a million ways. There's no point me speculating. Let's find out.
I feel put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touched down in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain. Touched down in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain.
Oh, that's a very nice way to end. I didn't mention this earlier, but that bass line, when it just decides to move down the octave, how the whole piano part is constructed with these rising arpeggios that gradually fall, and then the bass line can just drop down and it sounds so natural. And now we get a slight ritardando, slowing down. I've been banging on about the rhythms, and I thought Marc was teasing us about the rhythms here, because the bass part is doubled up, but not at the exact same time.
Pouring rain, touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues.
Slightly delayed to the piano part, which convinces me, and you cannot convince me otherwise, that Marc Cohn just really had this idea of rhythmic playfulness or interestingness, you know, peculiarity with this song. He doesn't need to add in a bass line for just 3 notes there. And he does, and they're offset to an already offset bass line. I think it's very cool and kind of playful in what is otherwise maybe quite a serious song, a nostalgic song. And it's a nice way to end with the ringing out up there. Visuals really complementing the music. Yeah, really interesting song. Just a reminder, please let me know what that piano introduction sounds like, because this will really, really bug me. I hope at least someone can save me from this mental turmoil of trying to remember the other song. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Well, look, thank you very much if you made it this far. Would really appreciate a like on the video. Let me know in the comments down below how popular Marc Cohn was, if you knew him or know him. I didn't know him. Feel free to comment your recommendations, of course, and if you don't want to write any words, then we'll do an emoji. Today's emoji will be a black and a white circle for the black and white music video that we just saw. Sometimes my emoji choice is a bit weird, but anyway, hope to see some down there. Thank you once again for watching, really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.